don't want to tell you that they're the same ones that keep leaking.
Right. So we have, the pipeline's expanding, so therefore the refinery wants to expand. And I've even heard some rumor, and I've got to confirm this still, about possibly another delayed coker right here in Detroit, not just the one, that they want to start up.
They're building it
Another
right now.
one.
Yeah, they're building it right now.
They have the land, and they're breaking ground, and we didn't even get a notice about what's going on in the neighborhood, right?
No.
So we have to do a little more investigating. And so the April incident we talked about, tell me about, you and I spoke a little bit before about your dog.
Yes.
You said, when this thing started losing its hair.
That was in October.
So October
but
something
before
happened.
October is when I couldn't understand, because it was summertime. Dogs don't shed. He had a short hair. He a Dalmatian, and he had bald spots all over him. And I used to actually say, I don't know who's losing their hair more, me or you. Making a joke out of it.
Yeah.
It ain't no joke no more. I've lost half of my hair.
So, your dog, you were talking about October. You had something happen in the back. You had the dog in the backyard from what you were telling me before.
Jeff next door, the neighbor,
Yeah.
apparently had heard this wailing sound. He took a recorder out, was standing there, and he was recording it. Well, I didn't hear the wailing sound, because when Bud wants to go outside, he's barking, he's jumping around, let's go, let's get out there, I want the groundhog, I want the rabbits, and I got him out there. The minute I shut the door, when I turned facing this way, so that's where the explosion was. The next thing I know, I was on the cement, and I was looking up, and it looked like a mushroom cloud when they do, the nuclear mushroom cloud.
Yeah, the explosion.
Exactly, and I'm laying there. I could not move. I landed on the elbow and the knee.
Yeah.
Just laid there. And I looked at the dog, and he's in the corner of the yard. He just kept shaking his head. He would not come over to me, though. Usually he never leaves my side. And that's when Tom heard the explosion, because it rocked 4 to 5 blocks down. They thought their windows were going to burst out. And they all came running down. And Mikey knows Bud. And I said, Mikey, Tom's got me, get Bud. If you don't know what's going on,
He's still in his house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was outside in the corner of the yard.
Okay.
He got it worse than I did. Well, I got it because of the percussion, they said, where I had the garage, the house, and the fence.
Oh, you had surfaces that echoed the
Exactly.
sound back at
It
you?
nailed back at me. And he was at the very end of the yard, close to them, but couldn't figure out what it was. He just kept shaking his head. And I said, bring him to me. You're the only one that can bring him to me besides Tom, and Tom's got me. So Tom brought me into the house, laid me down. They went and got Buddy into the house. And when Tom come in, he could see blood just coming out the left ear.
Of your
Of
ear?
my left ear. And I still could not, when they talked to me, I had to read their lips. It was like somebody talking through a shell when you're listening to a shell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Well, 2 days later, I had an appointment with my pain doctor, and he's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you reading my lips? He actually caught it, because he lost his hearing in one ear.
Right.
And I explained what happened. He sent me 2 days later to have a test done. And right before the test was done, after the test was done, I called in a friend of ours that is he does hearing aids and stuff like that. Because I wanted a hearing aid. I want to be able to hear out of the ear again. And he said, that class that you took, he said, you being in that enclosed area, he said the percussion is what got you. It would be like you standing next to a 747, right next to the engine, and have him crank it on. He said, that's what got you. He said, all the X's and O's, he said, no. And so then I asked my doctor when he got the results from the hearing test, fix it. I got an ear ache. Fixed it. I can't hear.
Right.
And he definitely told me, he said, I can't fix it.
Not repairable.
He said, if we do, you will have a tube inserted in your stomach. You will never swallow again. And I said, that's why I'm having problems swallowing. If I take any of my medication, I have a hole in my throat and it gets stuck. And he said, that's why.
And so we were talking about the explosion that happened in October.
Right.
There was a dog in the backyard, and you were brought into the house, your ear was bleeding.
Yes.
You lost hearing in the ear. And I asked you whether there was any legal action. And you realized that something. What happened? What did you do in response to it?
I called a few places for lawyers, and somebody told me I needed to get a lawyer that was an environmental lawyer.
Okay.
But what happened is when this came down with the MRI and everything, they sent me to this woman that didn't even know me, and it was to actually take the nerve that they damaged. And at the same time when they did, they found the fluid on the brain. So she didn't know what it was.
So they did an X-ray or something
Oh
and
no,
noticed something
she
different?
sent me to another doctor.
Okay.
So I thought maybe he would go ahead with the test, the X-rays, whatever, and he'd get a attorney. And twice I was there, and he wouldn't do nothing. You know, I couldn't understand it because they don't understand about these chemical burns and what they can do to you and how many there are.
Okay. So you're still looking a little bit around it as far as that goes. And when it comes to the city, did you go to any city meetings regarding the situation back in October?
None at all. I mean, the one meeting I went to was supposed to be for residents. Turned out that it was what is it?
Paul Max?
The one that's in there right now. Downtown Michigan. Hey, what was the name that we met James at? Peters.
Oh, Gary Peters is
Right.
who you're talking about. Okay.
He was there.
So Gary Peters,
Yes,
you're talking about.
and he had told me, you know, he read everything. This is even before the burns were really bad. And he gave his assistant my number. They both gave me cards. I have both of their cards, and he said, we will take care of this. Well, then apparently one of the photographers
Yeah.
heard him make a statement that I'm only worried about the pet coke, not the people.
Yeah, it was rather interesting because he came out opposed to the Petco down on the riverfront, but
Right.
he didn't really come back and actually look at where it came from necessarily.
Exactly.
So it's a process, as I was talking about when Enbridge's pipeline is expanding. We're doing more tar sands processing, delivering more petroleum coke through this, or I should say, heavy crude through the pipeline, and then that heavy crude is being processed to turn it into both gasoline as well as also other petroleum byproducts, including petroleum coke, which is used as a fuel by some countries, not so much the U.S.
Well, I know China didn't want it after on their review.
They've so the October incident was devastating. You lost your dog, right?
I lost my hearing. I was told by a very good friend of mine that it's not true. What do you put inside?
Inner ear?
The inner ear. It's not, nothing to do with that. It's in your neck. They would have never found the fluid if he wouldn't have sent me for that test. He caught the fluid on that MRI.
Okay.
And it was really strange because within 2 weeks of that explosion, I watched my dog lose his balance frontwards first and went nose first into the ground. And I went out there and I said, "What's up with you?" And we got back up. I didn't think nothing of it. Within the next 2 months, his back legs, he had no use of them.
Right.
I had, and even the vet, he had every 6 months, we took him to the vet. He had all his shots. We took care of him like our son.
So when the incident happened, you took him to the vet too right away, right?
Oh yeah. And she said it was so bad that we had to make a decision that they didn't think that the massaging of his back would help him walk more because he couldn't even come up a ramp. You had to drag him up. He had such bad infections through his body that he couldn't, and that's what bothered him the worst. He couldn't control having an accident, and he never had an accident for the 13 years I had him. And he went everywhere with me. He's been to Delaware, Florida, you name it, he's been with me.
Buddy.
Exactly, very protective over us. And I told Tom, I said, stop hearing.
Interesting thing, we're talking about how Marathon's got this consent order right now, and October doesn't even come up as a date for an incident with Marathon. There's a November date.
But where I got them on that one, the card that I have, Wilkinson's card, stated in front of all of us, I demanded to know what they did. I demanded. And he explained to me it was either hydrogen that they put down to clean the tanks or it was nitroglycerin. And he said they do it every 5 years. Why wasn't we warned?
Right, there was no notice into the neighborhood about any of the process.
Jeffy, the neighbor, came out we kept hearing the humming. That's why he caught it on tape. But when it exploded, that's when everything went crazy. I had neighbors coming 4 blocks down. They thought our house exploded. They thought maybe his shop exploded. They came down and said our windows are half of them are cracked. That's how bad it was. So if they got that much there, imagine being in an enclosed area, nowhere to go. I'm on a cement driveway, and next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground.
One of the other things that's up there is like an incident from November. You remember